Hey, it's Obi Chukwumah of Space and Equity. We're all about increasing assets and creating new space. Real bankers for real people. We're here today with the one and only Miss Alisha Cooper-Wells. She is an awesome serial entrepreneur. I met her through Clubhouse, where she's a titan on that format, but she runs Biz Fund Academy. She's got Miss Cooper Home Loans, and there's probably like 10 other businesses that we can dive in today. Love to have you. Thank you for joining us in the home in Dallas, Texas, coming all the way from New Jersey.
Actually from Delaware.
From Delaware.
But no one knows where Delaware is.
It's so small. Hey, everybody's corporations are there though.
Exactly.
So.
And Biden, he's from Delaware as well. But, you know, when I'm talking on larger platforms, I tend to say Jersey or Pennsylvania so people know where we're located. But I'm so excited to be here with you too.
Oh, I appreciate you.
In your beautiful home and have this opportunity to just speak to your audience and hopefully, you know, teach some people how they can become a serial entrepreneur too and pivot in these markets.
Awesome.
But I love speaking to a fellow banker.
All right. So, y'all, I met Miss Coop probably November, December of 21. I literally had just left my 14-year banking career. And in that, I did the exact same thing I'm doing now, but for a lot less money, even though I had a great salary. Mm-hmm. And so you put together Biz Fund Academy. How long ago?
We launched Biz Fund Academy back in September of 2021.
September of 2021. Okay, so we weren't too far away from each other, but you probably had the mind to do so way before that time frame.
We were teaching it not in a platform like it is now.
Okay.
We were providing this information just to make sure people weren't getting taken advantage of in the space and understood that there's more spaces in the banking world that will allow you to be in there and don't disqualify yourself without having a license, or even if you have poor credit yourself and your account is presently overdrawn, it doesn't mean that you can't learn how to bank and be a banker in this space.
What people don't know is that I spent 14 years as a banker, Truist Bank, B1 Bank, and banks give out billions upon billions of dollars, but they probably only represent about 30% of the capital that's deployed to the business projects that you see every day. I like to tell people the bank is the cheapest form of capital, but it's the most stringent way to get through. There's other ways to get money. And that's kind of what you bring to the table at Biz Fund Academy. Can you give people some examples of other ways they can get funding for their business than just the traditional bank?
Sure. Well, just to go back real quick on understanding the Biz Fund Academy, we birthed a product called The Play.
Okay.
And The Play was birthed from finding that business owners did not know that they could get alternative lending. So that they thought they could only go traditional bank, 2 years of tax returns, having consistent cash flow, and businesses and business owners were failing or were surprised at the fact that there were other options out there. But what triggered it was COVID. And the onset of your PPP and your EIDL money, where people were brought into the space of finding out, hold on, the SBA has money. Why didn't I ever hear of it before? And then to find, well, the SBA is actually doing this through the CARES Act, which it doesn't have the guidelines that the SBA had previously, needing 3 years of tax returns, financial statements, and collateral. That's why those don't usually come up to your startup business owner. So finally, individuals are finding out, hold on, but there is money out there. And we saw this true influx of business owners just having confidence in starting a business, right? We know the Great Resignation. So more people are starting businesses themselves, but yet after the PPP stopped and the EIDL ended, where do I go for funding? And then they were back in that rut of okay, the traditional bank told me I need all this, but I just got this money over here. Like,
and it wasn't that hard. They didn't ask me all these questions.
Exactly. And we're like, well, the play is here to let you know that there's still that space, that unregulated space that will allow you to do or get business purpose loans from alternative lending sources, private money, insurance.
Yes.
It'll give you an opportunity to use, the big bank word, conduit lenders that are there to provide money. And actually the government supports this since the SBA Act of 1958, that they actually want to see private lenders provide financing for that space and make sure your small business continues to sustain.
Yeah. So here's what people miss oftentimes. The traditional bank, they're here, they exist when your company, think about a kid, when they first come out the womb, they can't do nothing. All right, then they figure out how to crawl, they figure out how to move and get the things that they want. Now they walk in, but they're not really stable on their feet. And then when they're toddler, now they're running around and everything. And then they go from toddler to about that 7 years old, 8 years old, and they truly, the bank wants you when you're about 4, and they see potential. Like, this young lady is fast. When she's 20, she's going to be in the Olympics, and we want to get with her right now. She's already proven that she can do some things. There's return on what she can do. They got 2 years tax returns. That's when they want you. But before then, you still need to eat when you can't do anything for yourself. And these alternative lenders come as equity sometimes. If you own a business and you have a great idea and that's all you have, then you can bring on equity partners, but those guys want way more than the bank wants.
We're familiar with Shark Tank. We get excited when we see that show come on and someone pitches their business. And I think the piece people miss is that they also give up a piece of their business in exchange for that capital. So if that is your equity financing, but there's pieces and opportunities in the finance space where you don't have to give up your capital. There's cash flow loans. Fintech banks will work with you when you're still in your hobby and passion phase. You don't have 2 years of tax returns. You may not even have a true business bank statement yet, but they see that you're selling on Etsy and you're making $10,000 a month. There's loans for that. There's loans for once you get past your passion and you're like, I want this to be a business. I'm going to go get my business license. I'm going to open my business checking account. And now you have 3 to 6 months worth of bank statements and you're making $10,000 a month. There are companies that want to lend money to you with no documentation. And what no documentation means in our space is usually no true income validation. They're still going to want to see your ID. They're going to want to see that you're the actual owner of the business, but they're not going to ask for the in-depth qualifying paperwork that your traditional lender would want. So there's just options. And I think that's the big piece of what you're doing and what we do at Biz Fund is there are so many options out there, but someone has to bring the information to you.
There has to be an advocate. The SBA, their struggle is they want to put this paper out. They don't have the means without the Coopers of the world to do that. So they need other advocates. A banker, he wants to partner with Alisha because he wants to give his client a solution when they don't have the solution for them. He or she is limited to what Chase Bank can do because that's who they work for, where you are available to 200 plus different sources and you provide that liaison or conduit to the entrepreneur to get the cash, put them in the right slot, in the right seat so they can get the cash.
Definitely, and that's what we're here for. We're here to connect them with a lender who wants to do business with them. But many business owners are still representing themselves as the business. And there is a very thin line that these banks are not allowed to target market consumers. So if you are your business, you're not finding out that there are financing options out there until you take the step of creating a true business on paper and where your business can have its own identity. And now you'll see an influx of banks that want to do business with you, or meeting with a banker like me or a broker who has these relationships to say, hey, I want to give her money, because the only way they make money is deploying their capital.
They got to go out
into the workspace, into working capital for your business.
And if they don't put enough out, they're going to get fired.
Exactly.
They have to put money. But I'm going to make some people upset because, well, let's just see it. Black folks, we will organize everything except our business. And I'm tired of it. If we got a trip to Jamaica, 18 months from now, you're going to have the friend that puts the whole thing together for free. Everybody's money is going to be paid up 3 months before the trip. The whole trip is planned out, and you put together probably $3,000 to $5,000 for that trip because you want to have fun. But you don't want to put $3,000 to $5,000 to organize your business properly. I have Space and Equity is 1 year old. Come Correct Consulting is just months old, and Space and Equity has a credit card. Come Correct Consulting has credit. Bold Black Men Fund of Kingdom Property has credit. Why? Because I know how to work the system. Everything is papered properly. They're their own entity. They have tax identification numbers. And because I have good credit, American Express, before I made $1, gave me $24,000 worth of working capital. And American Express will allow me to go over my limit, which I need in the beginning of my business, as long as by the next statement cycle, I've paid it down. So I was able to make money and close business. I went to Miami and the business had just started. You think my wife let me take that out the savings? Exactly. No, I used American Express to make that work. But now we're about to close City Investment Group through Accra Lending, is a company that you put us on through Biz Fund Academy. So that'll take care of that bill. A lot of that bill. But what I'm telling y'all is, do your paperwork right. Don't represent your business as yourself. Take the time, take the money on the front end to do it right, and you're going to get more money on the back end to do it right. If you can schedule a trip to Jamaica 18 months from now, everything all paid for, the flight, the hotel, the food, the drinks, all inclusive, then you can put together your business plan. You can put together a company, an LLC, get somebody to create that for you, get a tax ID number for that, get a virtual office for $140 a month. And this way, when you apply for the American Express and you've been an American Express customer for 20 years already, and you have a good payment history with them, they can get you the capital you need instead of messing around. So no, they should not go and represent themselves to the business. They should create an entity.
Exactly. And that's the initial part. Being a real business, and you broke that down. And I just want to highlight those steps again. You know, being a real business, first, you need to do is decide what type of business you're going to be in. And then have your LLC or corporation. And with that is going to come, if you're going to be an LLC, an operating agreement. How do we know you own that company?
Yes.
You know, if you're going to be a corporation, we need your articles of incorporation to be done. And I mean, we don't need it. You need it. You need to have these things, because in the alternative space, when you applied for your credit card, they didn't ask you for that, did they? They just were able to find these identifiers in the right space, and having
they didn't ask for it, but they looked it up.
Yes. Having that corporate address. So when they Google your address that you gave them, they don't see this beautiful home. They see a place of business that's scalable. You know, I tell clients, how scalable is that P.O. box or the UPS store? I don't think you can meet clients there. I don't think you can get an assistant to work in there and answer client telephone calls. Let's think about what we want our business to look like, but it doesn't have to be what we see our business being in the end. So you don't have to go get that nice, beautiful, built out office yet, but there are things that you can do, especially because of COVID. And I just want to highlight, you may have felt the rejection before, but because of COVID, it is normal to have a virtual office now. It is normal to conduct business in a manner that doesn't require you to leave the four corners of your home and to do business and make millions of dollars.
Yes, absolutely. And I'm not going to be naive and say, with my background, I knew how to do this. I'm not saying or admonishing people to do this without help.
Right.
But what I am saying is, if you're going to go into business for yourself, pay for the help. Seek out the advice. There's people that know how to put these things together for you and will get you in the right spot, will eventually put money in your pocket. I believe Coach Austin, you put me on to him as far as business plan is concerned. We already have a business plan, but we want to take it to like the next level, to the next level, to the next level. And for us, we see the value in sitting down with Coach Austin and saying, hey, in 10 years, we want to scale this to the point where we're going to start entrepreneurial schools.
That's awesome.
What does that look like? And we see the value in that. We already have attorneys in place, a CPA. We've put together a team. And what I'm saying to you is, all you have to do is reach out to one or two people that have done something that you're trying to do, and they can get you the resources that you need. Oh,
definitely. And the piece, with good personal credit, and I mean just good personal credit, not great, not exceptional, there's financing for that.
Yeah.
The same way you may finance Jordans in 4 payments, LegalZoom offers financing.
Yes.
Their PayPal has financing. The excuses are being removed, but I do know there's a lot of hurt. There's a lot of despair.
Yeah.
We have been disqualified.
Yeah.
And not having, the energy. I tell people, I understand the bank can sometimes beat you down. And you're like, I just can't take another no.
Yeah.
But what I do want to say is there is hope. You just have not worked with the right banker yet.
You haven't worked with the right banker. And you just need one, yes. You know what? We got Come Correct Consulting. Space and Equity is 1 year old. Come Correct Consulting is literally 5 months old. We got about 10 no's. I've got good credit. I've got money. We made money before we started doing this. My wife still makes great money. I have all those things, but they didn't understand what we were trying to do. So when I gave them, they wanted bank statements, right? And they couldn't distinguish. I was having money come in for QuickBooks, and a lot of that was the investor money for the Scooters Coffee. And then some of that was the play money that I was making on loans and they couldn't distinguish. And then they thought that I was like, what they call it, recycling, where the money was coming through QuickBooks, then it's coming to my bank at First Capital Bank of Texas, and they didn't understand it. So they told me no. But I got some bad no's to a great yes. The yes was way better than I anticipated. And so sometimes, but if you do that by yourself, those no's hurt. They're painful. It's like a personal attack. But if you have a professional supporting you, they can don't even worry about that.
Exactly. We have more options.
We have more options.
We got 200 lenders.
Don't sweat it. And you just need one yes. And you're in a lot more comfortable space. So what was happening, I'm telling myself, my wife was tired of, we went from 2 salaries, 2 good salaries, and we could literally live off of one of the good salaries and then play and invest off the other. Well, then we were just living off of her salary. She's like, you the man of the house, look. And we were making money, but not enough for me to feel comfortable to pay myself. So literally Friday will be the first time I pay myself.
Congratulations.
I'm happy about that. And I just noticed this weight is just lifted off my wife. She was mad about everything. But now that I can pay myself, she's like, oh, it's much better.
We're good.
But I got to imagine if you're an entrepreneur doing this by yourself without a professional support, not knowing why they're saying no, that's overwhelming. That's daunting. And, everybody's situation is not similar to my situation. Some people jump out and there's no safety net.
And I'm one of those. I was a single mom and I came home from college with a baby. I tell people there's more people in my story than not, and got a job at a bank as a bank teller. Yeah. But the second day of training, they called me down because guess what? I had a charge. At 16 years old, I had a charge. And they were like, come with me, you know? Wow. And I was like, okay. Yeah. I knew the feeling, right? But what my personality's always been is, what can we do about this? Yeah. You know, I made a dumb decision. It is mine. And what do I need to do? And I thank God for sending the right people, right? They were like, well, you need to go get disposition papers. And when I bring that up, people are like, I've never even heard of that. And it's just the court records of what happened, making sure you fulfilled your obligations. So if you had restitution, if you had probation, it'll say on your disposition papers that you've paid back whatever you did to society, right? And I went and got my disposition papers, and I went back to training the next day with my disposition papers. And the lady said, no one ever comes back. And now I've been in the banking industry for 17 years, okay? And I didn't have good credit at the time. But to be in the banking industry, a lot of bankers don't have good credit.
They don't.
Okay. Their accounts,
there's a lot of fronting.
Their accounts are overdrawn in the bank. And I was one of them. My account was overdrawn. I remember I would fill up my gas tank. I put my debit card in because they only held $1. Yep. I would fill my gas tank up so I could get to work that week. And then after, then my paycheck would come in on Friday. And that would be, and I did that. That was a cycle. That was me creating my own bank float. My own bank lending system, which you should not do because you can get overdraft protection, which I learned later. Okay. Overdraft protection cost me $45 for the whole year. Yeah. And they would float this gas and I could pay it back. Yeah. And there's power in understanding that there's products to support you in all your endeavors. There is more products than not out there. But I want people to know the passion is because I was that person. I was that single mom living in the projects, trying to figure out transitioning from being on welfare to taking on a job. I remember they gave me $1 raise and I told the social service office and they said, well, now you're not going to get daycare anymore. So
people making business decisions over $1 raise.
Over $1 raise. And I was like, all right. And again, my son was 5 years old and he would have to let himself in the house and be in the house for 30 minutes. And I would be flying to get home because I didn't have childcare for him. But I want that to be a story of if there's a will, there's a way.
Absolutely.
And when it comes to business, a lot of us think we have to bootstrap it because we're bootstrapping our lives. And that was me. I was bootstrapping life. Yeah. And then I learned that I didn't have to bootstrap my businesses. I can get capital. I can make financial decisions. And there are businesses and companies that want to help me make those financial decisions because they want me to, number one, pay them interest. Number two, they want me to hire. Yeah. They don't want it just to be Miss Cooper Home Loans sitting in the office. They want me to hire my loan partners and my loan officer assistants to be in the office and a receptionist because that helps them. Yes. More people paying taxes. Yeah. And the bootstrap concept is one of trauma. Like, everybody's going to have a way that they find to make it. But I promise you, when you learn how to work within the banking system, it's just going to be this sigh of relief like your wife felt. When, hey, it's going to work. Yeah. It's going to work.
Yeah, absolutely. So you dropped a lot. And, partly you kind of explained why the key around your neck, but tell us about that symbol.
Oh, definitely. So I wear this key, and this is my grandmother's house key. And I walk with my ancestors daily. I believe key stands for knowledge empowers you. And I have been charged with and commissioned with a responsibility to help as many people get this education and to empower them that this key can unlock so much potential, unlock opportunity, and it's there. And this small little key could be the same key to unlock a door in the hood that is $80,000 or $1 million home.
Yeah.
It's all about what we do with the knowledge, but it costs.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm removing the statement that the knowledge is free.
Yeah.
Like this key costs. This cost my grandmother. This costs me. This cost my ancestors. It costs. But we have to realize that with the cost comes a charge.
Hey.
And let's take that charge and change others' lives.
So you were in Chase, corporate America. You figured it out. They loved you because you have a dynamic personality that is just, it draws people. And they understand that you're here not just for yourself, but you're here to empower them. They get that. What made you say, this space is too small, this big corporation is too small for me?
So I was making money, saving money. I had started in real estate, meaning bought my first home, had an investment property. And I used to tell my husband, I only need $5,000 a month. Okay. So I had figured out how to make this $5,000 a month at the bank and still had enough free time to do other things, be involved with my kids. But I was finding that it was lonely. I was like, you know, I'm available, but my friends aren't. And I knew the only way to create a space that I was comfortable in, I had to create a space for other people. And with kicking and screaming personally, because I was comfortable. But I know that there is no growth in comfort, right? If you're not growing, you're dying. So I said, I'm going to start first with this transition where I'm going to leave the bank, but I'm still going to do like these site visits for them. But I was building along the way. And then I met another entrepreneur. So my husband is an entrepreneur, and then I have a business partner, Jonathan Bing. And we were like, hey, how about we do our own thing? So I'm going to be honest, I wasn't willing to bet on myself by myself. It wasn't until I had someone to take the journey with me that I was willing to step out and leave the bank and say, hey, we're going to build our own bank. We're going to build our own, actually the word we use, community, that is going to help others get money regardless of who they look like. And the transition, I started with realtors. I found that realtors needed a lot of education in finance. And that started our business.
Hey. And nobody is advising that you step out and bet on yourself without a team, without some covering. So you did it the right way. Even if you say, well, you did bet on yourself, but you bet on yourself with wisdom, with the crew. So year one, I'm still in year one of entrepreneurship, but I got a lot of cheat codes.
You're right.
I got a lot of cheat codes. How did you navigate? What did you learn from year one, and how has that positioned you today on how you make moves?
So year one, I was tunnel vision. I was 100% everything to my business. If something needed to be done, I knew how to do it down to the T. And that was one of the worst decisions I could have made. I was experiencing burnout. I wasn't excited about going to work. My marriage was suffering. My kids were I would be in the office till 11:30 at night. We were making money, but I did not want to be a slave to my business. And I want entrepreneurs to know that you have to create an identity for your business. And remember that your identity is not your business. No matter how big you grow, it needs to be a place that you can scale. So I could turn a client who nobody wanted to work with and get them their solution. But that honestly wasn't a scalable model because everyone could not be Alisha. Not everyone couldn't go meet a client in the hallway of their son's school, picking up their paperwork. That was not scalable. And my family was suffering because of it. So what I did learn is, hey, I'm going to get a coach.
Okay.
And I got a coach. I got a business coach, and it was life-changing for me. And my business partner, he laughs. Like, he was like, I can't believe we found the money to pay this business coach. But he taught us how to remove ourselves out of the business.
Wow.
And that was the best thing we could have done. And now I have the freedom to sit here and talk with you and still have the business operating. So year one, I definitely say jump in and learn, but don't become a slave, because it's very difficult to get out once you put yourself back in those chains.
Once you become everything to everybody. How did you vet the coach and get the right one?
So definitely recommendations. We went to an event. There was a bank actually trying to recruit me.
Okay.
So there was an event in Atlantic City, and he was the keynote speaker. And I had reached out to their company about 2 years prior when I was still at the bank. And he said, because he knew I worked at the bank, I didn't make enough money for him to coach me. So at this event, he ends up speaking, and this is a great story. We come out, and he's waiting on a taxi. And I'm like so excited to see him. I'm like, babe, let's get in the taxi with him to my husband. And he's like, girl, you have a car. Why don't you ask him if he needs a ride? And I'm like, oh no, I don't know what to think of that. So I say to him, hey, can we give you a ride to the other side? Atlantic City is like split up in 2 sections. He's like, great, a free ride? Sure. But that ride was not free. So there's no such thing as free lunch. I asked him so many questions in that ride that I know he was like, man, I probably should get out the car.
I should have got that taxi.
And one of the questions I asked him was, hey, this bank is trying to recruit me. What should I ask for? And he said to me, you need to ask for a sign-on bonus of $20,000. And I was like, $20,000? Like, first of all, I've never asked for a sign-on bonus before. And he was like, ask for 20. So I remember that moment happening. And then I went in to the interview with them. And I think it was our 3rd interview. And I told them I wanted a sign-on bonus of $12,000. And they said, sure. I was like, man, I should have said 20. I should have said 20. And that was a turning point for me, learning the value of a coach, because no one else would have been able to give me that advice than him or another coach. And how I ended up vetting him compared to some of the other coaching programs that were out there, I actually wanted the coach that made me the least comfortable. So I wasn't very comfortable around him. Some of the coaching companies, when I was interviewing them, they wanted to be my friend. And to me, that's important in the industry, having friends, but that's a mentorship. But I've played sports. Like, I've appreciated my coach later. But during the time of going through, I don't like my coach. And that was actually one of the metrics that I used, thinking of sports, that, hey, the things that they're asking me for is making me uncomfortable. They want me to do this list of so much in one night, kind of like the homework that I give my students. But if they're not pushing you, they're not a good coach. They may be a good mentor, but I don't consider that a good coach.
Wow. We're going to take a quick segue and let you guys know how you find us. So if you're on the gram, Obi_empowers, you can find out in brief snapshots what we're doing here at Space and Equity Come Correct Consulting. Check our website out at www.spaceequitycorp. Space Equity Corp. You'll find out who we are, what we're doing. That's where you can get the paraphernalia, the hoodies. It's a movement. You need to join it. We're all about increasing assets and creating new space. And finally, check us out on YouTube, Come Correct Podcast. You get the full version of Miss Alisha Cooper and the advice that she's dropped in Biz Fund Academy, Cooper Home Loans, the other podcasts, and eventually you'll join us on our Patreon page where we'll do a deep dive. I always often tell people, you want to come out to the track, you ain't ready for 800 meter yet. you got to get in shape. So the Patreon is the 800-meter dash, and we don't want you to get sucked up without proper training. So you get the bite size, and then we'll take you on for the real. But when we're back, we'll be back here with the queen, Dr. Alisha Danielle Chukwumah. She hates when I say her full name, but she's going to ask a few questions, pick up on the vibe, and then we'll close out.
All right, I look forward to it.
Thank you.
Awesome.
So, Alisha, it's so good to see you again. I've only had the opportunity to meet you once, but I've heard your voice around this house a lot because my husband listens to you a lot. But one of the things I did notice when I met you, this is before you opened your mouth, before you made a movement, is I could feel your energy.
Oh, thank you.
Oh my gosh, you bring such big positive energy.
Appreciate that a
Absolutely.
lot. Well, I'm excited to meet you as well. Just to be in your home, I want to say thank you. And an opportunity to speak on a platform with you and your husband is amazing. And, you know, I work along with my husband a lot. So even watching the interaction that you guys missed the behind the scenes is a very similar space. And it lets me know that the relationship is genuine.
Yeah.
And, you know, being married, working together, growing together,
Yes.
is something that it takes work. And knowing that you're willing to support and be the powerhouse you are, I just want to give you kudos for that.
Thank you. It means a lot coming from you.
Oh,
Such a
thank you.
boss. So, you know, one of the questions I had is, Obi and I, it's really hard for us to kind of detach from work. And so one of our favorite ways to do that and to really stop and take a break is to take vacation. So for you, what's been your favorite vacation and why?
So my favorite vacation spot is Punta Cana in the Dominican Republic. And the reason why I love it, one is the internet is usually sucky. So I have to work really hard to make sure I have my ducks in a row before we leave.
Yes.
And that allows me the opportunity to detach. Also, they have one of the coolest airports ever. They have a pool inside of the airport lounge. Ooh. So when we leave the resort, you know, after our amazing stay, and it feels like the vacation's not over yet. So we get to the airport and we get to get into the lounge, and there's the pool and it's open on the runway. So you're seeing the planes take off, and it's just an amazing opportunity. And I was afforded that through having business credit. American Express gives you access to the international lounges. So I tell people it feels like my vacation doesn't stop, and I'm always looking forward to leaving too at the same time. That's a unique space to be in when you're on vacation.
So you guys got a lot of gems for free. You just got an hour worth of knowledge from a millionaire, multi-millionaire. She doesn't give this time away for free. So what I want you to do is leverage it properly. You've got the podcast, you've got the information. Now when it's time to deploy, this is the free version, but if you want a person's time like Miss Alisha Cooper-Wells, or if you want time from Space and Equity Come Correct Consulting, understand that you're paid for it, but you're investing in yourself. So don't get upset when you can't get on somebody's Rolodex because, oh, they too good. No, they realize the value of their time. So now that this has been delivered to you for free, take advantage of it and know that the next step is time to pay for it. When you come correct, they can't stop you.